Today's episode is sponsored by Globally Paid. Globally Paid is a service that integrates payment acceptance into any software to help businesses scale faster and without friction. Globally Paid handles credit card processing, fraud protection, payouts, dispute alerts, and chargeback management. And Globally Paid is all about great relationships, global payments, custom tech. Everything begins and flows with compliance. For more information, visit globallypaid.com. Hello, I'm Tony, and welcome to the Tony Shap Show. Well, welcome back, everybody. Today, I have a very special guest, longtime friend. We never met before, but we talked. He sent me his autographed book and notes, and I finally got him on the show here. So I wanted to give you a personal warm welcome on behalf of me and on behalf of the audience. Robert, welcome to the Tony Shap Show.
Thank you, Tony. I've looked forward to it ever since we started communicating about it. I look forward to talking with you.
Thank you very much. I think our listeners are going to get some true value and things that they could actually write home to, so to speak, or, actually, make a big difference for them because you've made a big difference in my life. And this is many years ago. And still the things that you taught me through your book, I use every single day. So just to give you a personal story, I'll never forget, there's one of those trophies back here that I achieved at work. And I started getting a lot of pressure from coworkers and stuff like that. And I decided to take a vacation to go to Palm Springs. And I bought your book and I reached out to you. I said, I really needed to read this book because I need to get my head straight and how to deal with, because, when you're a high achiever, and I'm nobody special, I just got lucky. And I started getting certain things that people didn't want me to be that way and stuff like that. So your book really helped me take a strong stance and a position of my value and the results I was delivering. So I wanted to personally thank you from the bottom of my heart of the biggest difference you made for me. And many years ago, but still, it was one of my pillars of a foundation of success because of you, Robert.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you so much. That makes everything, every once in a while I get a comment on a blog or something of a similar nature. And I just write back, this is what makes it all worthwhile.
Absolutely.
Honestly, that's what makes it all worthwhile. I remember on my Amazon page for the first book, some comments were, I wish I'd had this 20 years ago. It would have saved my whole career. I'm going, oh God, but I'm glad he got it, Anyway, those are so rewarding and I really appreciate that. I'm glad. And so I brought out Hired Gun 2 to take it a step further, because when I wrote that first book, I was really identifying, I was really discovering, why is this happening to me? And why is it happening to me over and over? If it's happening to me over and over, it's got to be something with me. It's not everybody else. I must be the one that's out of step. It's not the whole band, marching band, So I started really doing some deep introspection. I started looking for books about how to deal with your adversity there. And I couldn't find them. They didn't exist. I went everywhere and I talked to authorities and people. Nobody knew. So I wrote it. I decided, well, I'm going to write it. So I did. And so I identified what I kind of call the gunfighter syndrome, about salespeople. You're a top salesperson. You're highly desired. You're highly compensated. Everybody wants you, especially a new business. And you're like a new town in the Old West. There's no law. There's no order. They'll pay anything for a fast gun to come in and put the crime down. But by God, as soon as that law and order is established, the first person they want to get rid of is that fast gun. They paid a lot of money to come in and put it down. And that's what it is with a hired gun sales rep. You are highly desired. But what I learned on the flip side of that coin that was so hard to learn and understand is when you do achieve top number one and you're making more money than the VP of finance or something, you're limited to about 4 or 5 years. The company will be sold, the company will be merged, all kinds of changes happen, or they just decide you're making too much money. So I wrote the first book, but then in the second book, I identified, how can you see this coming? It wasn't just this realization that, hey guys, you need to understand this. This may happen to you because it has to me. The second book is here's 11 telltale signs that it's about to happen to you, and things like that. So it's a lot more detailed and I think helpful. And the third book is about becoming the boss. It's titled Becoming the Boss. It's about sales morphing into entrepreneurism. Because something like 60% of CEOs or business owners have sales backgrounds, and it may be more 100%. Than that. Yeah, but that is about how to meet the boss. It's really how to become the boss if you're in sales. And it's from people I know. There's interviews in there with people that have done that successfully. But it's how to meet the boss. You know, how do you meet the boss? How do you set up a meeting with the boss? And I don't mean the VP of sales or marketing. I don't mean the CEO. I mean the boss. CEO is often not the boss. The CEO reports to someone who maybe founded the company. That's the boss. And maybe it's the boss's wife who's the boss. You got to find out who that is. When you get to know that person, you're golden. Because the best thing, the worst thing that'll happen to it is they'll take you down the hall and say, hey, come down here. I want to introduce you to the person. Jack, I want you to meet this guy. He's got something I think we need. Talk to you're golden. So it's how to meet the boss, how to sell to the boss, how to work with the boss, how to learn from the boss, and then how to become the boss. And the last chapter is how to be the boss. So it's kind of.
I love it.
So that'll be coming out in the spring.
Can't wait to read that as well. I know I just got your second book, so I'm going to put that in the queue to read. I'm super excited.
Yeah, we're relaunching that too. I did all this work and we launched it and we had all this marketing going when COVID hit. And it just, oh God, I was doing all this revenue through airport bookstores. That's my secret, airport bookstores. My first book, Hired Gun. I sold it almost exclusively through Hired, and it was the best-selling business book in all those airport bookstores for a long time. It stayed on the shelves in Dallas for 2 years at DFW Airport. But this one, it came out and it got great reviews. I had all these wonderful reviews and endorsements and everything, and sales just didn't really happen. So we've rebranded it and we've retitled it. So it's the same book, and it's going to say, the book formerly known as Hired Gun 2, but it's going to be called Sales, the Most Dangerous Game. And the subtitle is How to Be #1 Sales Rep and Not Get Fired. So
nice.
So that's the new improved Hired Gun 2.
That's really powerful. Let's talk about some recent wins that you've had. Share with our audience a recent win that you've had, and what you learned from it, so that way our audience could also be on the same page with you and experience what you experienced, so to speak.
Sure. Can I give two?
Of course.
Okay, I'm going to give an old one and a new one.
Okay.
The old one is just one of my favorites, and this was 7-Eleven. I'm a young sales rep. It's the early 80s. I'm selling mom and pop shops, advertising, whatever I can sell, I'm selling. I'm seeing everybody. If I have a meeting with 7-Eleven, it's the same weight to me as a meeting with a mom and pop shop on the corner. It's one meeting. So I'm in this meeting with the boss at 7-Eleven. Now, he's not the boss. It wasn't Gerald Thompson, but it was the guy who reported to him. And I'd worked for a year to get that meeting. And so we're sitting there and I've pitched him. And he makes the buying question. He says, now this was direct mail around their stores and so forth and penetration and all that. He says, about how many homes would we want to mail per store, do you think? And here's my takeaway from this. Shut up. I just shut up. I didn't say a damn word. Because he wasn't asking me, he was thinking out loud. And he sat there, looked out the window, put his feet up on the window ledge, thought about it a little bit, turned back to me. I averted my eyes. I wouldn't look at him. I was writing notes. Finally, he comes around and says, what do you think about 1,000 homes a store? I said, that's perfect. That is perfect. You've got 1,300 stores. The market area is 1,300,000 homes. If we do 1,000 homes per store, you'll have full market coverage. I can put your piece on the outside of all the mail going out that day. And the mailmen put all the mail inside our package because it's already sorted in their walk sequence. It's so easy for them. So you'll be on the outside of everybody's mail in their mailbox that day if you do 1,000 homes a store for your entire Dallas-Fort Worth market. Boom. It was the first time they'd ever used print media, ever. All radio at that time, all radio. And it was like a $250,000 deal for his first try with us. And the takeaway with it is when they ask that closing question, when you ask a closing question, just shut up. Let them think. If you interrupt their thinking, and the automatic answer is no. If you interrupt their thinking, our human tendency is to say no. So that's that one.
Awesome.
The other one is a fun one. I was assigned a list. This was much more recent. I was assigned a list for selling online media advertising, and it was directed to law enforcement. This was police1.com. So I had this list of people at this big trade show I was supposed to see, and I was walking around seeing them all. And I waited, the last one on my list, I waited to be last because it was a boat manufacturer. And our company had never had one boat manufacturer in the whole program ever. It's very unlikely it was going to be a deal. So I saw them last. I walk up on this guy about 4 o'clock in the afternoon at this trade show. He's under a stairway in the shadows with his little desk, and he's just working on his computer. But that's their display. And these people sell $500,000 boats. These are law enforcement and military boats. They're custom made for that police department based on what they want, you know, and they're serious badass boats. So I walk up and I say, "Hey, are you Tony?" He says, Yeah. I said, "I'm Bob Workman. I'm with so-and-so." He says, "Oh, okay." I said, "Do you have just a minute?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm kind of tired." You could tell the guy just was not right. He was just not right. He was like, I'm kind of tired. What do you got?" He said, "God, I haven't eaten all day." I said, "Really?" I said, "Can I go get you something? You want a Coke or something?" Oh, he sits back and goes, "Oh God, Coke would be a Diet Coke. I'll be right back." That led to the biggest sale in the history of the company for that division. They bought our advertising on an exclusive contract for 3 years. They signed a 3-year exclusive contract with us. And it started because you had to be sensitive to this guy and where he was at. Because if I just came on and made a pitch, it would just been, "Oh, I'm too tired for this. You know, call so-and-so at the home office." I had called the boss. I had called the VP of sales. I had called the sales manager. I had called and talked to everybody. And they said, "Well, see Tony, he'll be at the..." He wasn't anybody on the list, but he was the guy who knew that we can't make sales because I've got to be here doing this. And if I didn't have to do this, I could be selling. And he used us to eliminate all that garbage that kept him from selling. He went right back. That deal closed within the 30 days, within that month. This was like August 5th. By August 31st, boom, done deal. And it was because, "You want a Coke or something?"
That's really great. And then it turned out to be like a 7-figure deal or something, you know?
Oh, it was huge. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was huge. I mean, I made lots of money. The CEO of the company called me. The COO of the company called me. He sent me emails. "This is David Ortiz. This is huge."
That's so great.
Oh, and
that.
the biggest reward, I remember it was October 31st. The company wasn't making its number for the third quarter. And this deal put them way over the number. And I turned it October 31st, the afternoon of the last day of the month. The COO called me because he says, "I just want to tell you how great you are. You know why you're so great? Because of your deal, we hit our number. And because we hit our number, I get to go home and take my 2 daughters trick-or-treating tonight."
Wow.
Wow. Hell, that's worth the whole deal. So anyway,
That's
there's
really
a
great.
couple for you.
Thank you very much. Let's go into the opposite side of that. Let's talk about failures, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Just give us one at a high level, one recent failure and what you learned from it. That way we could also, share, experience that with you, so to speak.
An old one and a new one, real quick.
Sure.
Okay, the old one, again, back to 7-Eleven. Remember, we put their piece on the outside, blew their doors off. I'm golden. They love me. They invite me to their Christmas party. They hand me a check for $300,000 across the bar. This is 1982. That's about $600,000 today, just as a deposit on their next ad campaign. So we're ready to go. Everybody's locked in. Oh God, they're excited. We're excited. We're going to put their piece on the outside. We have 19, honest to God, they had 19 Q&A checks to make sure that if this piece of paper was supposed to be inserted in that zip code, it got there. Somehow, I get a phone call from my direct contact at 7-Eleven. He says, "Hey, Bob, I got my package in the mail today, and our piece was in it, but it wasn't on the outside." I said, really? He said, yeah, would you think that was just like a single zip code error or something? I said, I don't know. I'll check on it. We whiffed. It went on the inside to the entire market. It blew their doors off, but it was not. We promised them we'd put it on the outside for free, no charge, prime location. Didn't do it. It fell through the cracks on every one of those checks and balances, all the way through the system. Didn't get put on the outside. So it wasn't like we charged you money and didn't deliver, but we said we would do it and didn't deliver. And nothing pains me more when I'm in sales than not delivering to a client that trusts me. So they wanted to see me, and they were everybody. I knew I was walking into this big boardroom at Southland Corporation with a bunch of people that were just going to, there's nothing we could do. The horse was out of the barn. It did extremely well, performance-wise, and they admitted that. So all they're going to be able to do is chew on me for about an hour and a half, and I figured, I don't want to go in there and just get beat up for an hour and a half. I mean, that doesn't get us anywhere. I told them, next one, we'll get it out there, and I'll personally make sure those QAs are. So I just walked in with a baseball bat. There's like 10 execs, 10 Southland execs sitting around this big table, and my direct contact's there, and he's just going like this. Bob, what's with the baseball bat?
I play baseball. Now. I remember the story. This is such a great story.
Oh, okay. So I said, well, guys, look, we told you we'd do it. We didn't do it. We failed. We didn't charge you. You're not out any money. It did work for you. It worked great. We're all happy, but we're not as happy as we could be. And we all admit that, and it's our fault. So you're not out any money, but we didn't keep our agreement. So, we will next time, and I'll personally make sure it happens. So all that we can do right now is you can beat up on me. I brought this baseball bat. I'll put my hands on the table, and you can just beat the hell out of them. That's about all we're going to accomplish in this meeting. Meeting over.
Wow.
They all said, looked around, kind of laughed, and said, I guess he's right. So are we going to do it again? Yeah, we're going to do it again. Okay. Meeting over. Just got to defuse that sucker. So that one saved my life. A big failure recently. Well, big failure recently was Hired Gun 2 in its sales. It just, God, I was so ready to launch that and did launch it. And I got it in airport bookstores. But this thing, airport traffic died about the moment I got it there, So I'm relaunching it. I listened to Brian Tracy. He said, listen, do you know there was a book that came out? It was titled How to Negotiate. Failed miserably. Failed miserably. They did a little focus group, and they came back and they retitled it. And it was one of the best-selling business books of all time. It was titled Winning Through Intimidation.
Interesting.
So if you bring out a business book, you've got to have an active verb as your first word in the title. Winning through intimidation. So becoming the boss.
Love it.
So anyway, he said, don't be afraid to rebrand your book. If it's a good book, and all my feedback is, yeah, this is a damn good book. It should be selling a lot better. So here we go. So that was a little failure that I kind of worked around. Past it now. Hell, I'm into becoming the boss now, but I still want to get that one out there in good shape. So
definitely. And for those of you listening, if you're not already subscribed to his newsletter, I highly recommend it. Gonzo Selling. So, which is really great. I was reading the recent story about the A-Team picture. So
that was today, wasn't it?
Yeah. I love that. So if you want to tell people just a quick 30-second on the story behind that. Yeah. So great.
I'd love to tell that story. I had gone into sales management twice at this one company. Did really well in sales. They wanted to demote me into sales management, so they did. And then I got a chance to go back into sales, so I took it. And I was so happy. I was literally doing donuts in the parking lot that day. I was so happy because I wasn't responsible for anything anymore. So later on, I got back into sales management again. They got me into it. And this time was great, but I got back into sales again. And when I did, they just decided, okay, Bob doesn't want to be a sales manager anymore. He wants to go back in sales. We'll just put a new manager in. We got to identify these sales teams. So here's a list of who reports to who. We got 2 sales managers and 2 sales teams. Team A, Team B. I saw that and I said, guys, we're the A team. So they all said, hey, let's do that. Because we got very competitive, A versus B, very competitive. And A sold like 66% of the revenue and B sold like 30. Honest to God, that's not an exaggeration. We were the A team. They took all the best ones and put them on this team. They put all the other ones, put them over here. So, okay, fine. So I just thought, guys, we ought to make something of this. We really should. Let's do something. I'll call a helicopter company and get them to donate a helicopter for us to use if we take a picture. God, everybody on the team went out. The girl with the big mohawk wrote, she was in the hair place for 3 hours getting that thing done. And they got all costumed up and they couldn't wait. It was 105 degrees on that tarmac that day. And we got out and took that picture. And then we got prints made and we passed them around. We all signed them. So we each had an original, and we signed one, sent it up to the company president in Stamford, Connecticut. And we learned later when he came to the branch, he said, look, I want to show you guys something. He opened his briefcase, pulled out the picture of the A team and said, I take this to every branch just to show them why you guys are always number one. We just had an incredible esprit de corps, and it really kept us strong. It really kept us strong. We had a high desire to do as best as we possibly could, because you knew you were on the A team. You were expected to do as best as you possibly could. So
that's so great. And thanks for sharing that story with us, because I found it to be really inspiring. And it really resonated with me as well, even though I just read it this morning, because of the fact that, like, it goes back to, if you want unordinary results, you have to do unordinary things.
that's right.
That's one of the things that my coach, God bless him, he died, he passed away, Ron Zeller, he taught me. So that's when we were able to have breakthroughs, right? Sometimes right before a breakthrough, you have a breakdown, and then you have a huge breakthrough. So sometimes, we always, like, when we're having a big failure, we're like, okay, there's going to be a big breakthrough, just wait for it. So, but like to your story with the A team, I love that, because you kind of created this unordinary, naming of it and the context for it, and people just kind of bought into it and
automatically.
Yeah. And then the boss was going around with it. That was so great.
we rented we decided, this is fun for us, but we're just kind of patting ourselves on the back. Actually, our weakest rep said this. She said, we're just kind of patting ourselves on the back. Why don't we try to do something for somebody, something good, like something for somebody else? We've got this unit. We're all making lots of money. And I said, that's a great idea. We rented out a roller rink, and we found an orphanage, and we rented out the roller rink and bussed them in for a whole night, and had Santa Claus come. And we went to our clients and asked them if they would donate gifts for the kids. And oh my God, 7-Eleven they opened the barn doors and said, here.
Wow.
Oh God, we had so much good stuff. And these little kids, some of them, it was the only present they got, It was a real heartwarming thing. That was one of the neat things that we did of value out of all that. But because it brought us together and it made us this tight little unit that met and laughed and had drinks and stuff, we decided to try and do something useful with that. And it really, oh God, that was such a night. Anyway.
Right. That's thanks for sharing that as well. So let's, as we're coming to an end here, I wanted to ask you a couple more things. So what is that one question, when you're out there doing your public speaking, your webinars, your coaching, and the one-on-ones that you do? I think sometimes you do one-on-ones, right?
Oh yeah, lots.
Yeah. When you're doing that, and then when the Q&A start, the Q&A stuff starts happening, the conversation, like people, you give them the opportunity to ask you Q&A. Everyone has, like, certain questions they ask you, right? But what is that one question that you wish people would ask you that nobody ever asked you before, or has ever asked you before? So what is that one question you wish people would ask you?
I wish they would ask me, how can I take what I've just learned from you and incorporate it in my life's daily behavior? Because that's what I'm all about. That's what I'm trying to provide, to give, to present, how to improve your life because of these things that you can do for yourself. The problem is, a lot of people they learn it, they see it, and then they go home and they forget about it and don't do it. So if somebody would say, well, I read you that funny little aside about the sales advice before we started. That was a guy just was walking by my place, knocked on the door and said, Martin says, hi, can I help you? He says, I just wonder if somebody really lived here. I bought a warehouse in downtown Dallas 30 years ago. I still live there, and I've got this warehouse, but you can't tell. Is it a business or is it a residence, the way it is on the outside? And we started talking. He had this great sales background and just kind of became a protege, and I became his mentor, of odd things that happen. But what I'm really working with him on is instilling these things into his actual, beyond his mind, into his behavior. And it's very rewarding to see take place.
That's really awesome. So tell our listeners how they could connect with you online. Give them your website address, and so that way they could, be more involved in what you do and experience it daily, or all that good stuff.
Sure. If they'd like to get the blog, the weekly blog, I send it out every Wednesday. Just go to the website. It's simply hiredgun.us, hiredgun.us. I had hiredgun.com, but it got cyber squatted from me. So hiredgun.us, and when you go there, the little pop-up shows and says get on the VIP list, and just provide your email address and you'll receive the blogs every week. And the site for the blogs, if you just want to go check out, well, what has this guy written to? I want to get anything from him. It's just gonzoselling.com. It's on the website as a button for blogs, but it's its own site, gonzoselling.com. And hopefully those are helpful to people.
Excellent. Thank you very much. It's been an honor to have you on the show. Thank you very much for coming on here and sharing your success and the stories and experiences you've had. I think you're going to make you're going to make a big impact on a lot of people listening right now, or if they're watching this on YouTube. So from the bottom of my heart, Robert, thank you very much for coming on to the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. I look forward to it.
Same here. Hopefully we'll have you on here soon.
Oh, I'd be happy to come back.
Thank you.
All right.
And there you go. I hope you enjoyed it, and great to have you, and thanks for listening. And don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for the next episode. Till next time, onwards and upwards.